All right. For those of you who don't know, my name is Michael Forrest, and welcome to It's Go Time. Now, before we get going, if I could ask you all to not send me text messages while I'm up here, I'd really appreciate that, because when you're moving around and you're doing the whole hosting thing, right, and all of a sudden you get hit with that wall of text, it's like hitting a wall. It's not a comfortable sensation. So if you could avoid doing that, I would appreciate it very much. Also, if you could stay off of the stage area here, this way nobody blocks this big display behind me, and this way I got a little bit of room to move around, do the whole hosting thing, right? Also, if I can direct your attention to the menu wheel in your lower left, you're going to notice at the very top of that menu wheel is a microphone icon. When that microphone icon is clear, that means we can hear everything that's happening in your environment, right? So we've gone ahead and we've turned that to red like this, and this means that you're muted, right? And this way, if somebody comes in your space and says, "Hey, are you still on that thing?" We're not going to hear that, right? Also, likewise, if you have like a barking dog or something like that in the background, you're not going to face social ruin by becoming known as the avatar that started barking during the event, right? Now, just because you're muted does not mean you can't express yourself. You're going to notice in your menu wheel, you have this pink cheek smiley face, kind of looks like this here. And when you click on that, your emoji panel opens up and it gives you a wide variety of options with which to express yourself, right? So if I share something really deep and powerful and meaningful and it touches you down here and it starts to build up, you can just let it out and let it flow just like that, right? Maybe I got some backup dancers backstage, right? And they come out and we break into It's Go Time, the musical, right? And you're all very impressed. You can throw up the applause I live for, and I can take a moment to drink it all in because it feels good. All right, now if I ask you guys a yes or no question, you can say yes by smiling like this. You could say no by frowning like this. If I say or do something funny, you can show me you think it's funny by doing this silly face emoji right here. And then there's this thing. This is by far the most distracting of all the emojis, right? And only to be used in a situation where you need to let me know there's a problem. It's not how you ask a question. We will be taking questions and comments at the end of the event. But this is something that you'd use if, like, you see me waving my hands around, you're like, wow, this guy looks like he's really into it, but I don't hear anything, right? That might be an instance where you want to use that. Or maybe the moderators have had, just about enough. They've seen one go time too many, and they've had it, so they light the screen on fire. It's happened before. It probably happen again, and that's the kind of thing you're going to want to let me know about, right? Now, if I see one hand go up like that, I'm just going to keep going because it might be somebody messing around. But if I see 5 hands go up at one time, like, I know there's a problem I need to address, right? And that's our pact. That's our bond, our sacred bond between me and you, the audience. All right, so that'd be cool. Now, you can also press X to hide this emoji panel, but it's a good idea to leave it open during events like this because, one, it gives me feedback, lets me know how I'm doing, but more importantly, it lets the people around you know what you're experiencing, right? So if the person next to you starts going like this, that means they found something funny, right? And you may not agree. You might be like, well, that's not funny at all. I'm going to go stand over here. I don't know what's with this guy, but you can totally do that because this is VR. Well, except you really can't stand over here because we've got that sacred pact, right? That's our bond. All right, so now what's Go Time about? Go Time is an event where we're going to show you how to get the most out of your Oculus Go in Altspace, because let's be honest, there are some challenges being on a Go in Altspace, right? And we're going to discuss that. Speaking of challenges, right, I've been in bed for about the past year or two due to a medical condition. It's gotten a lot better, but when my Go first arrived, right, I could not wait for this thing. Remember that feeling when you first put on your headset, that feeling that you're being taken away to another world, right? There's nothing like it, right? So when my Go came, I got this on, and I've been reading about Altspace for a while, and I couldn't wait to get in here. So this was my first stop. This was the first place I came, right? And I came out of that load screen for the very first time, and the very first thing I did was I looked up, right? And when I looked up, I saw the sky, right? And that sky looked a lot what I remembered a real world sky looking like. And I was grateful. I was so grateful, I started volunteering for Altspace right away, that first day. And I found that when I would help moderate events, my battery power wouldn't last, all right? My battery would die before the event was even over. And, this upset me, and I'd have to charge the device back up. I'd have to come back into Altspace and try to track down the event host. I couldn't always find them, but when I could, I had to, apologize for flaking out, and I got off to kind of a rocky start in here, right? So I started asking questions. About how could I improve my experience, and the answers to these questions eventually led to this event, right? And when I first started asking these questions, I heard some things. I heard, like, for example, they said I wouldn't be able to work this laser pointer at all on the Go. And you know what? That turned out to not be true. I was also told that these slides here, right? I was told I wouldn't be able to work these things on a Go. And you know what? That turned out to not be true. Also, despite having a background presenting material like this, I was told that, my device wasn't reliable enough for me to host events. And not only did that turn out to not be true, but I went on to become like a very prolific Altspace host. I've done over 300 events in here, and more than half of those were done on an Oculus Go pretty successfully, I think. All right, and you can too. All it requires is a little bit of changes and adjustments to your device, which will help you have your device perform better in Altspace. And there's two routes you can take. You can start with the device that's already on your head. So you're going to learn some stuff here today before you even leave. That's going to ensure you have a better experience in Altspace. Also, you can upgrade your experience to exceed the limitations of your device. Now, I say it like that because, listen, those of you who have been here before, you know that I can't stand this term. Right? You hear this kind of term a lot on the Discord. You hear things like inferior device, weaker device, and I can't stand that stuff because, listen, the Oculus Go is an incredible introduction to VR. It really is. Yeah, I'm on a Quest now, but if I came in on a Quest, I wouldn't have stayed. All right, because on a Go, you don't have to worry about the vertical movement. You don't have to worry about the complexity of two controllers, and it allows you to get used to VR at your own pace. All right, which is really great. And I've come to feel. Wait 1 second. I'm getting a message here, text message, even though I specifically asked to not get text messages while I'm up here during for. Hello, I am the Orange Robot. Arctic Fox, thanks for that. I appreciate it, but you maybe want to wait till the end of the event to text me if that's okay. Thanks. All right, because it's like it's like hitting a wall and it throws you off really bad. You don't want to be doing that. That's bad to get. At any rate, so yeah, so you got two routes you can take. You can start with the device you have on your head, or you can upgrade the device. Because listen, there's another term that gets thrown around Altspace an awful lot, and that's communities. There's a lot of rich and diverse communities represented in Altspace, and while there are, while they use that word communities an awful lot, right? That part of the communities that's the most important is you, right? Not what kind of headset you're using. So if you hear terms like, limitations of the device or inferior device or anything like that, or they make you feel bad for, being on a Go, just remember you're the important part of that equation, and you are not your device any more than you are your house or your car. Okay, so it's important to remember that. Now let's start with the device that you already have on your head, right? You may not realize this, but your device loses power even when it's not in use. Okay, so like if you put it on the table the night before and the next morning you're going to put it on, you're going to notice it has less battery power. And this is because it's checking for updates to apps, it's checking for updates to their firmware. Maybe it's got a pen pal on the other side of the world. Maybe your headset has a whole secret life you don't know anything about, and that can be devastating. All right, so what you're going to find out now is so your job principally is to make sure before you come into Altspace that you have a full charge. All right. And the way you do this is like, let's say you go to altvr.com and you see what events are coming up and you say, oh, look, Go Time's coming up. I've heard great things about the host. He's amazing. He's got that hair and he's got that shirt you're starting to see everywhere. Right, Jeff? Right? Am I right? All right. So, you have all this happening and, you want to come into Altspace. So about an hour before you come in, you start charging your device to make sure it has 100%. Because if you come in on, say, 20% battery power, you're going to notice that your screen flickers and you're going to have a lot more problems, right? So if you have 100% battery power, it's going to ensure that it operates at its best. Now, when you first, and you wouldn't want to make this a habit, when you first put on your headset, that power button in the middle that you press to turn it on, right? As soon as you get it on your head, as soon as you see the Oculus home screen, what you want to do is press and hold that power button down for about 4 seconds. And when you do, you're going to see these 3 buttons appear in the air in front of you, and that middle button will say restart. If you press restart, this is going to get rid of all the temporary files from it updating things, and it's going to clear out the memory and put everything into its best state. So you have 100% battery power. You've reset your device, and I like to think of that as clearing your mind before you come in, right? So you've cleared your mind out, and you step into the load screen, and you come into Altspace. And when you do, listen, you've probably noticed in Altspace by now what an important role body language plays in here, right? You can say so much without actually saying anything. Like if during an event like this, a moderator comes up to you and they shake their head slowly, and they're like this, like, and that means don't do that thing, right? Or maybe somebody makes it up on the stage and I'm going like this with my hand, right? That means get off the stage, right? And I don't even have to say anything to do that. You can tell that's what I mean by doing that, right? But occasionally you're going to notice in Altspace that your real world hand might be right here, but your avatar's hand might be up here. And when they don't match like that, what's going to happen is I'll go to wave somebody up the stage, but what you guys are going to see is my hand going like this, and it looks like I'm going, hey, everybody, welcome to Go Time. And I'm not saying that. I'm saying get off my stage. It's a dangerous place. You might get hurt. I'm a trained professional. All right, so, so what you're going to want to do if this happens to you, right, is if you stick your hand out at your side like this, right, you're going to notice on your trackpad, just below that, you have 2 buttons. Now, don't do this now, but if you were to press that bottom button, that's like an eject button. It's going to take you out of Altspace. If you do press that, you'll have an option to quit or to resume. If you press resume, it'll take you right back into Altspace like you never left, right? It's great if you press it by accident. But this button does something else. This bottom button, if you press and hold it while the hand is at your side and you're looking straight ahead, and this you can do now, you're going to see a white circle spin in the air, right? And when it does, when that white circle spins, you're going to find your hand snaps right into place. And when it does, take a good look at your hand and ask yourself, is this where my hand is in the real world? If it is, then you're good. If not, do it again as many times as it takes for you to feel comfortable, because only you can determine what's comfortable for you. All right. Now, another thing that can happen is you're going to notice every now and then that this collection of circles on your lower left, that menu button and your emoji panel and all that stuff, you're going to notice that, if occasionally it's going to drift around a little bit, right? Sometimes it'll move behind you in a place where you can't reach or even see, all right? And you go, how do I open my menu? What do I do? And you're going to feel stuck. When this happens, it's important to remember that you have your main menu in your hands at all times, right? You're going to notice on your controller, just below the trackpad, is a button in the middle. That middle button, believe it or not, is your main menu button. Right? And when you press it, your main menu is going to open up in front of you. But if you're looking straight ahead when you do this and you press that button again, your menu will close, right? But if you were looking straight ahead when that happened, what's going to happen is you're going to notice that your menu wheel goes right back where it was, where it's supposed to be on your left-hand side. So if you find like it drifts in the middle and, it makes you feel uncomfortable, like you're going to trip over it or it's moved somewhere you can't see, just look straight ahead and press that middle button and then press it again. And then it'll be right back where it's supposed to be. All right. Now, also, you're going to find one of the best pieces of advice I ever got when I first started out, right? My battery, as I said, wasn't lasting very long. Somebody told me if I turned down my brightness, it would last longer. And I didn't want to do it. I want to have the best graphic experience I could possibly have in Altspace. And to me, that meant having my brightness turned way up to like retina burning levels, right? I mean, it was painful, but my graphics were awesome. Or so I thought, right? But after a while, I figured I'd give it a try. So I went to the Oculus main menu, when you first put on the device. And on the right side where it says settings, I clicked on that. And then right in the middle there's an option for brightness. And I pressed that and I turned off auto brightness so I could set it manually. And there's this big blue bar there, right? And every time I came into Altspace, I turned that blue bar down a little bit more and a little bit more until finally it was completely gone. And I came into Altspace and I couldn't believe what I saw. Now, back then I was helping out with an event where there was this tree in the corner, right? And before the event would start out, all the moderators would meet under the tree and they, we'd talk and catch up and stuff, right? So I'm walking over to that tree and all of a sudden I just stopped and I looked up and I was like, oh, wow, right? It looked more real than anything I'd ever seen in Altspace before. And I'd seen that tree like every day, but it looked so different. It looked so real. So if you turn your brightness all the way down, if you're coming from like a big brightness, like say 75%, it may take a few minutes to get used to it, but you are going to enjoy better graphics, better performance, and most importantly, your battery is going to last longer, right? And I started making it through entire events at that point. And during that time, I became aware of one of the reasons that, Go users get sort of a bad reputation in Altspace. And the reason why is because the microphone on the Oculus Go is incredibly powerful. It really is. So what happens is the sound comes out of your straps, right? And it gets picked up by this microphone. And then that sound gets projected out into Altspace, right? And it creates kind of like an echo. Right. As a matter of fact, I've been hosting events for close to a year and also before I actually knew what I sounded like in here. It's a common problem. They should really come up with something like a sound mirror or something like that. If you'll notice, we got Raven Eye floating up in the air. That's our YouTube channel. If you want to feel Altspace famous, turn around and wave out to YouTube. Be like, hey, YouTube, how's it going? We got Jeff over here in the matching shirt. In the blue, we got Stones. In this pink shirt, we got Storm Swift. In the orange, we got David. In this blue shirt here, we got Crawler. We got Man in Black in Black. That's surprising. We got Hummingbird in the corner here. Got a lot of people here today. Come on in Altspace. I think you'll enjoy it. Right. But before I saw myself on YouTube, I didn't know what I sounded like in here. I had no idea. Right. And what could happen is you could be standing, somewhere talking to your friends. I could be standing there talking to Hummingbird and be like, Hummingbird, did you hear about that thing that happened? Right. It was really wild, that thing that happened. And, and then your avatar can come along and I'll be like, what's that voice? It sounds very familiar. And I'll turn around and I'll hear my voice coming out of your avatar. And there's a sound delay, too, in Altspace when people talk, so it can be pretty unsettling. It has the effect of like somebody copying you when you're talking to them, and it can kind of throw you off and make you hard to talk to. Fortunately, it's pretty easy to fix this. You're going to notice on the top of your device, you have two buttons on the left side, right? And there's the leftmost button's the volume down button, and just next to that on the right side is the volume up button. When you press either of these, you're going to see these vertical bars appear in the air in front of you. Some will be solid and some will be clear. What you're going for is 4 clear bars on the right side, and this will ensure that your volume is 4 ticks away from the maximum. And this will take care of that. You're going to find people are going to be nicer to you like almost right away. The problem is this comes at kind of there's kind of a price to be paid for this. You might have to strain to hear people, right? And, you'll be asking, what'd you say? What'd you say? Well, it turns out you still have a good hand in the real world, right? And you can use this hand. Try this now. If you take your left hand and hold it up to your left ear and kind of cup it to that ear, you're going to notice the sound of my voice goes up. right? It's a way to temporarily increase the volume, right? And a permanent way to fix this is if you attach a set of, a pair of headphones to your device, that can take care of it. Also, a pair of inexpensive earbuds, like, I acquired mine, and, after that, the only voice coming out of my avatar was my own. Now, occasionally, you still may have a family member come in and say, "Are you still on that thing?" Right? And that might get picked up too. But you can fix that also by, getting them a VR headset and bringing them into VR with you so that they can enjoy it too, and you can show them how great it is, right? But after I added the earbuds to my device, I started wondering, what else could I add to my device, to improve my experience? And that's how I came up with what I call a Go Plus experience. And I call it this because, listen, I would go to heavy performance spaces in Altspace, and I'd see other Go users like disappearing as their devices crashed or they overheated or something like that. And what would happen was, I'd, come in there and it would be, a challenge, like it would be a little bit choppy, but I would still be there, right? My device became super reliable, and other people were just like disappearing. And to tell you how I did this, I'm going to need to discuss these products up here behind me. But before I do, I want to make sure you understand that these are not the only products that work. It's the ideas behind these products that matter, right? So, if you want to try like, a different one, or you find one at a different price, feel free to, and, come back and let us know how you made out. I love hearing like the different ways people have gone about solving some of these problems. All right. Now, and the temptation is going to be to write this stuff down if you want to try this out, but we've made it super easy to find. If you go to altvr.com and you go in the upper left where it says channels, you're going to notice all these Altspace event channels. There's a lot of good ones. Look around. But you're going to see down toward the bottom, you're going to see where it says Ravenhall Events, right? And if you click on that, you get taken to our event page. And there on the left-hand side, you're going to see links to all these products behind me, right? You'll also see a join Discord button if you want to, hang out and ask us questions or help out with events like this. And you're also going to see the most important button on the internet. That's where they keep it, right? You're going to see the subscribe button, right? When you press that, it lets Altspace know that you enjoy our content, right? It also makes us feel good. We don't get paid to do this. So every time we see that number go up, it makes us feel really good. So it's a great way to say thank you. We also like when you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel. It makes us feel special. We enjoy that. All right, so let's talk about what this stuff is. At the very top here, you're going to see the Anker Power Core battery pack, right? Now this is going to make, like the battery running out of memory. All right. Now, this battery pack has a charge for 16 hours. And I didn't think I'd ever need to spend 16 hours in VR because I like food, I like water, and I've heard good things about sleep. I'm thinking about trying that out. Right. And around about the time that I ordered it, I had heard a lot of people were having problems charging their device. Right. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but when you plug your device in, you ever notice how that wire is like really kind of tight? Right. And I thought that all that wear and tear would eventually loosen it and it wouldn't charge as effectively. And that seemed to be happening to a lot of people. So I found this middle product here, which is called a MagSafe cable. And what this does is the USB end goes into the battery pack. All right. One tip goes in your device and it's held in place by a magnetic connector, which turns out is a really great safety feature because if you turn your head while you're in VR and it pulls on that cable, the cable will just pop off instead of pulling your headset down and making you feel like your world's being turned upside down, right? Never a good feeling. You want to avoid that, right? And when that wire pops off rather, you can fix it without even coming out of VR. You can just hold it up to the side of your headset and it'll kind of thunk into place. And if your microphone's open, it'll make that thunk sound and all your friends are going to go, "What was that?" And you're like, "That was power. That was pure, unadulterated power." You don't have to do that. It's not going to make it work any differently. It's just something I like to do. So if you feel like, continuing the tradition, please, feel free to take it. All right. Now this solved my power problem. All right. I started lasting a long time in VR, but I found I had a new problem. And I'm sure some of you guys are familiar with this: overheating. Right? I started overheating all the time, right? And now the cooling on the Oculus Go is controlled by the faceplate. Now the faceplate is installed by hand, so everybody experiences something different, right? Some people overheat once every half hour. Some people overheat. I knew one guy that overheated every 2 minutes, right? And it's and I actually the first go time we ever had, somebody came to the event and they said that half the device became pushed in because it actually melted, right? It got so hot, right? And this concerned me. This was like something I really wanted to fix. And around this time, I'd heard some people were using ice packs and like bags of frozen peas to bring the temperature back down. I do not recommend doing this because, listen, they would joke about it like it was funny, but you know what? This is going to create condensation inside your device, and water and electricity on your face is probably not the best combination. Also, the people I know that tried this, went through more than one device, right? And, that can get expensive, all right? So what I do recommend doing is using one of these USB fans here, a mini fan. This is made by AC Infinity, and what you want to do is make sure the silver part is facing the faceplate, right? And you got to attach it to your device. Some people use strings. In my case, I used a pair of oversized hair bands. You put them right on the ear straps. You make kind of an X with them, and you wrap them around the round rubber feet. The day mine arrived, I was set to help out at the meditation event in Altspace. It's a really great space. It's on top of a mountain. There's smoke coming out of the poles. There's sunlight streaming down through the fog on the mountain. It's really awesome. But for some reason, I would always overheat exactly 20 minutes into the experience. It was always 20 minutes, right? I mean, you could set your watch by it. It was extremely precise. Not that I'm wearing a watch, but if I was, that would have said 20 minutes as soon as I crashed, right? And I figured this would be a great place to test it. So I'll get it all on there. I don't know if you guys have seen Star Trek, but when I came into Altspace, I felt like a board, right? Because I had all these wires coming down from my headset, right? And you get used to that, actually. It doesn't bother me too much after a while. But I came into the event, and I went up to the host, Jeremy, really nice guy, and I asked him, I said, can you hear my fan? And he says, no, not at all. And I was like, oh, that's excellent. So I turned it up to medium, right? And I said, how about now? And he goes, well, a little bit, but it's not that bad. And I said, okay. And I turned up the full blast, and he goes, turn that off. You sound like you're in a wind tunnel. Right? So I said, okay. And I turned it down to its lowest setting. And spoiler, I never had to turn it up again. Right? Here's what happened. Right? 20 minutes came and went. I didn't overheat at all. Right? But I wanted to know, where's the line? How far can I take this thing? So after that event was over, I went to another event. That's 2 events in a row. Didn't overheat once. So I went to another event. 3 events in a row, and I didn't overheat once. And after that, I went back to my home space. I hung out with my friends, right, for a while. And then it happened. I left Altspace for the very first time because I was tired. Not because I had to. Not because I was overheating. Not because I ran out of battery power. I left because I actually wanted to. Right? And after that, my device became super reliable, right? I started hosting events. I started monitoring events. I was all over Altspace all the time, each day and every day. And you can be too. All you have to do is make a couple of small changes, and none of this stuff is very expensive. You're going to notice this mini fan here is about $10 or $11 US. This MagSafe cable is about $7 US. And this battery pack up here is the most expensive thing up here. That's about $30 US, maybe $40 US. In different sizes, capacities, and colors. I mean, you may not need one that goes 16 hours. You may only be in Altspace for a few hours a night, so you can get by with a smaller battery, right? It's just like a little boost, to get you through and, keep the performance up, And as soon as you made these changes, man, it was just like super reliable. And, I can't recommend this stuff enough. But you know what? There were still some problems, and these were more of annoyances, all right? First one I'm going to talk about is a movement issue, all right? I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but when you're on the go and you go to, like, say, turn left, sometimes you'll go straight. You'll be like, well, that was weird. And you go right to tell Hummingbird about it, but instead of turning right, you go straight again. And you're like, wait a minute, that was really weird. What happened? So you start, I'm going to back up. So you press down on your controller, but you go straight again. And you're like, uh-oh. And then you start panicking, right? So you start bashing buttons, and no matter what you do, you keep going straight all the time. And the next thing you know, you're standing inside of an admin. There was nothing more frightening than standing inside of an admin. I saw things when I was in there that keep me up at night. I saw the past. I saw the future of Altspace. I saw all kinds of things I can't even discuss. But what I can discuss is how do you take care of this, all right? Your trackpad on your controller, it's sensitive to all kinds of things like touch, because it's a touchpad, right? Big surprise. But also heat and moisture, right? Now, what you want to do is you're going to want to reset the connection. And the way to do this is pretty simple. And you're going to make this a habit or a reflex. So when you turn in a direction you don't want to turn, what you do is you take your thumb and very gently, without pressing down, swipe it across the trackpad, right? Very gently from right to left to right. It doesn't make a difference. So when you get to the other side, lift your thumb off completely and cross over to the other side, come down and do it again. So if I turn left but go straight, and I'll go, uh-oh, and then I'll go swipe, 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 and then I'll turn in a direction that I want to go, and that'll take care of that. All right, so give that a try if you find you're moving in ways you don't want to. Also, you're going to notice very occasionally, right, that you put on your headset, you're going to see a notice that says can't find controller. And you're going to be like, uh-oh, right? And you put a fresh battery in that thing last night, right? Because that could happen. If you need to replace your battery in your controller, that could be a reason you'll see that message. But sometimes when you have a fresh battery in there, you can't see it. You're like, what's going on? Maybe your controller found out about your headset's secret life, right? And they're not talking anymore. All right, how do you take care of this? Well, good news, you don't even have to take your headset off your head to fix this, right? All you have to do is remember 2 words, double down. What I mean by this is just below your trackpad, you're going to notice you have 2 buttons. If you press and hold those 2 buttons for about 4 seconds, what you're going to notice, right, is a little white light's going to appear on your trackpad. Now, if you're wearing your headset, you're not going to see this white light, but what you will see is when you lift your thumb back up, right, you're going to find that you've got your hand back. Right? And then you can come into the load screen and be on time for your event or whatever you had planned, right? And you're going to be like in the load screen, go, man, I sure am glad I went to go time. That Michael Forrest, he knew what he was talking about. He told me to double down. And in case I didn't mention it, that's how you remember it, double down, right? And he told me to double down, and now I got to be on time for my event. And if that happens to you, you're welcome. All right. Another thing that can happen in Altspace every now and then is you're going to notice that your screen goes dark. And this isn't just on the go. This is all mobile devices. And this is because you see everything in this room. You got the stage. You got all the avatars around. You got these signs up here. You got this big shiny red button that we use at the air events that we love very much. It's a very cool special effect that we're going to do with this thing at the end. So stick around for that. But you're going to find, that all this stuff, it stays in your headset and it takes up memory. And when that memory fills up, your screen is going to go dark. Right? The best way to deal with this is to get ahead of it before it happens, right? So if you're hanging out with your friends and you've gone to a couple worlds already and they say, hey, let's go to the campfire, right? All you have to do is say, I'll catch up, because they could still hear you if your screen's gone dark, but it's a way of getting ahead of it before it happens. So if you've gone to a couple of worlds, you might want to just restart the app. And the best way to do this is press that bottom button on your controller. Remember, I said that's like an eject button. And you press quit and the app will close. You restart the app and you come back in. They'll barely notice you were gone, but it's a way to refresh your memory, right? And that'll help, take care of that. All right, now let's see what else we have here now. Now normally at this point I give building worlds tips, but if you are we're running a little bit low on time, so if you want to hear those tips, just throw me up some hearts, and if not, throw me some other emoji like a smile, and we'll keep on going on to the next part. All right, if you want the building world tips, we'll go over them, and if not, let's see. We got 1, 2. All right, 2 to 1. Anybody else want to do it? 3? Okay, so you guys want the tips. All right, we'll go through them quickly. All right. Now, I used to moderate for an event called Building Worlds, all right? And at this event, I would hear a lot of Go users telling me and others that they couldn't build worlds on the Go. They said it was too hard. Now, this simply isn't true, right? The Oculus Go is capable of remarkable precision. It's a great device to build worlds, and you're going to find a lot of very successful worlds in Altspace were built on an Oculus Go. At the end of this event, when we press that red button, we're going to be taken to the Ravenhall Flight Academy, teach you guys how to fly if you haven't learned already. And that world was built in less than 2 days on an Oculus Go. All right, so you stick around for that if you want to get some idea of what you're capable of. There's also teleporters leading to other worlds that were built on Oculus Go's as well, and you get a look at some of those if you like. All right, I have like Ravenhall. It's a very large world. You can hunt for stuff in there. That would took a lot longer than 2 days, but that's because that world is just huge. It's a very big world, very well nicely done too. But you're going to notice, where do people have this impression that you can't build on the Go? Right? They get this impression because when you first start, if you're part of the World's Building Beta program, which you enable through your main menu by going to Settings General, right? When you go there, you're going to notice, you have that enabled, and you go to Build a World. When you first grab an object to edit, like say I'm grabbing this laser pointer here, which, I am, so it's easy to say, right? And, you're going to notice it starts moving around kind of all crazy like, right? And you're going to find, it takes a little while to realize that it's actually your head that's controlling the movement, right? Now, I don't know about you guys, but it's really hard to keep a level head in any reality, let alone a virtual one. So what you're going to want to do is go into your world editor, and when you do, you're going to notice this little checkbox down toward the bottom that says lock rotation. When you click on this and this is activated, now when you go to edit an object, if you squeeze and release the trigger one time, right, what you're going to be able to do is level the object with your hand, right? And as soon as you get it the way you want it, you squeeze and release the trigger again, and you get, you're like, that's very nice. It's a little crooked, but I can give myself a mustache with this thing. This is very cool. All right, good. All right, and now what you can do is you can hold the trigger, right, and don't let go this time, right? And this will enable you to move the object up, down, left, or right. And if you swipe your thumb on the trackpad from left to right, you can change the size or the scale of the object. Or if you swipe your thumb up and down a trackpad, it'll move the object away or to bring the object closer to you, right? You could also, by holding the trigger down, carry it around to where you want it, right? So you can actually carry it to its destination and place it by hand, right? So let's say we put it on the edge of the stage here like this, right? Now, you know what? That's not very good, right? Because in the real world, that would be on the ground right now. So it doesn't look very realistic. Right? And what you're going to find, though, is on an Oculus Go, you don't have to be precise. You just have to get it close enough. And then what you can do is go into your world editor, right? You look for the object, in this case, laser pointer, right? And you find the laser pointer on that list on the left there. And next to the object will be a cogwheel. And if you press on that cogwheel, a panel is going to open up. And on that panel, you're going to see all these numbers. There'll be numbers for position, rotation, and the scale, or the size of the object. And you're going to want to play with these numbers to see what they do. So let's say for the position, the X says 20 right now. All right, so change it by a small amount just to see what happens, right? So let's say we change it to 19, and all of a sudden the laser pointer jumps over here, right? And you're like, oh, okay. So now any object I bring into the space, if I lower the number, it's going to, on the X, it's going to go in that direction. That means if I raise the number, it's going to go in that direction. And that must mean that Z must be that way, and Y is always up and down. Then gradually, over time, you're going to place another object and then another one. And it's going to get faster and faster the more you do it. And before you know it, you're going to have a world of your very own. right? Now, the thing to remember here is that, look, I know that little keyboard they give us to type on can be a little difficult sometimes. You know this from texting your friends and stuff in here that, typing those messages out is kind of slow. But you know what? It turns out it's a lot like a video game. When you first start playing it, right, you're thinking about nothing but the controls. But after about a week, you don't think about the controls anymore. You just think about saving the world, or you think about crushing your enemies. That's a great way to spend a Wednesday, right? And it gets easier and easier the more you do it, all right? So just keep at it, and before you know it, you're going to have worlds of your own. All right, now we're going to be taking your questions or your comments now. So what I'm going to do is you're going to notice in the lower right, you're going to have a raised hand button appear as if by magic, all right? And then when you press on that, your name will get on the list, and we'll call on you to take your questions or your comments, all right, if you want to get on the air here. And in the meantime, while we wait for that to fill up, if you want to follow us on Twitter, you can find us at __Uncanny Valley. I know it looks like 1 underscore, but it is actually 2. All right, let's see. We have David. David, you're on the air, and I get to feel like a radio host. What's going on, David? Where are you, David? There you are. How's it going, David? What do you got?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
So at the moment, I've got headphones, external headphones in my headset.
Okay.
So the microphone that's picking up, is that off the headset or off the headphones?
It's off the headset. So far, I haven't really heard of anyone successfully getting the built-in microphones on some of these headsets to work effectively. So the microphone is in the headset. All right.
Okay. All right.
I think that you got a fan on there too. Let me hear. Yeah, you do. You got a fan on there.
Yes, I have.
All right. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to push that fan up a little bit so it's away from the microphone. Like bring it up toward the top. Right. So like it's on the upper side of the device. Oh, there we go. Whisper quiet. And can't hear it now. Everybody listen to that. Anybody else hear that? I don't. All right. That's perfect. Keep it nice and high like that. All right. Perfect.
Okay,
That's awesome.
Cool.
All right. Seeing that. What kind of fan is it?
It's actually an external one that's just sitting at the side of me.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. That works. Really,
Yeah.
Seriously, anything that works. If it keeps the temperature down, do it. Before I got my mini fan attached to it, what I actually did was I'd have a ceiling fan going over behind me, and then or over me rather, because it's a ceiling behind me. That would be pretty weird, right? It'd be like on the floor or something. But what I would do is I would actually look up to cool it down, like that. And everybody asked me, "How come you keep looking at the sky?" And I'm like, "Because I'm trying to keep my face cool," like that. So you got to do what works. All right, we got Stones. Stones, you're on the air. What's up, Stones? Where are you, Stones? Where'd you go? I don't see you, Stones. Stones, where'd you go? Okay. All right. Well, you're on the air if you can hear me. Maybe you crashed. It's possible.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, so
there
you said don't send you text, but how do I send text to somebody?
I think the way they're doing that is through the reporting and event feature where they go other and they just type that in because they're behind a stage blocker. It's not like they can target me. They also might be doing it through the host panel. That's possible too. I'm not entirely sure, but it's been happening a lot lately. Arctic Fox just sent me a hello again. So that was the same one before.
Okay, that's a good question. I think what is this? What is this bubble thing? What's this bubble do?
The bubble, that's your personal space bubble, and this is useful in crowded events. So, like, let's say we're at a concert, right? And you're standing next to me, and I'm being really annoying because my hand keeps going up in your face. Now, hands in the face while you're in VR, really uncomfortable, right? So, what you're going to want to do is, if you activate your personal space bubble, now if I get too close to you, my hand will disappear, right? So, it's a way of being more comfortable in like say crowded environment.
Yes, it does disappear. I see. Okay,
excellent. That's all right, cool. That's a way of being more comfortable. Now, if you have any more questions or comments, we're going to take you guys flying. And the way we're going to do this is if you direct your attention out the window here, I'm going to press this button and you're going to see a Ravenhall Talon hovercraft fly by, go up over those trees and land in the backyard area to pick us up, take us there. All right. Cool effect. But it turns out you can also fly these hovercrafts if you want to give them a try at the Ravenhall Flight Academy, the place that we're going. If you want to fly these around, you absolutely can. All right. So I'm going to press this button now. Direct your attention outside the window.
Ravenhall Talon aircraft en route to your position.
All right, there it goes. All right, let's go everybody out in the back here and let's go out and meet it. All right, let's see here. All right, now again, if you've learned anything here today, please share it with those you come in contact with. So if you're standing around in Altspace and somebody says their face is on fire because they keep overheating, tell them about the fan, tell them about Go Time, tell them about our event page where they can find all this stuff, right? And you'll feel good because you help somebody. They'll feel good because the problem was solved. That's how we help keep this thing going, right?
Talon aircraft is now boarding outside for transport to the Ravenhall Flight Academy. Please exit the building and step into the blue light. Thank you.
All right, everybody. You've been a great audience. Thanks for coming. See you next time.
Thank you. Great.